You ever hear a razorback holler? Kinfolk used to bury people back there that they's ashamed of. Ed Harley. Sorry guys, couldn't resist there. The one I'm going to talk about tonight is just very close to my heart. It's a late '80s entry into the horror scene, and it's kind of a cult classic, but it's one of those that kind of slipped under the radar right there at the end of the glory days of the '80s slashers and monster, whatever, all-purpose horror movies. It's one of my faves at heart. It's Pumpkinhead with Lance Henriksen in the lead role as Ed Harley. What can I say about this one, folks? It spawned many sequels over the years. Nothing's better than the original, especially in this series. Pumpkinhead, I picked up a used copy the other day. You know what I mean? Used copies. I always try to buy used. But I didn't have it on DVD until now, and I've always missed having this one in my collection for a long time. So I finally got me a cheap copy of it, and I sat down and viewed it the other day. And man, I relived so many good memories, because this one was not only one of my favorites, but it was one of my favorites for me and all my teen buddies, all my buddies that I grew up with during that time of the late '80s there. Everybody loved Pumpkinhead. I mean, if you didn't like the horror element of it, you liked the way people talked in it, you liked the lines of the movie, the script, the story, the special effects. It just had a little bit of everything in it. First and foremost, I will say, before I get into the story, it was directed by late great Stan Winston. You know, R.I.P. Stan Winston. Wherever you are, buddy, here's to you. He directed this late '80s. I think it came out in 1989. It did a small theater run from what I've read and researched on it, but it really hit its main audience when it came out on home video. I know that's the first time I saw it, was when me and a couple of friends, we rented it, and we laughed and was scared at the same time. It was just one of those that had a little bit of everything in it. It had some over-the-top moments. It had great special effects. You know, with Stan Winston at the helm, it's going to have some great special effects in it. But it was more of a simple story that they made an extraordinary movie about. So, I don't know. It had a little bit of everything, and that's why I think it's really held up amongst horror fans over the years, especially the original. I've watched some of the sequels. Just don't even get me started. That's for another day. Basically, it takes, of course, one of the stars from Alien and other Jim Cameron favorites. Lance Henriksen is a good old boy. He runs his little general store there, and I don't think they ever really tell you exactly where they're at. They're supposed to be in the Appalachian Mountains somewhere, I believe. And basically, his little boy, who's like the cutest kid on the earth, I don't know where they found this kid to play his son, but he's like, it's a little bit of melodrama mixed in too, because you just know something bad is going to happen to that kid. I mean, if you've never seen the movie, you just know something's bad going to happen to that kid, because he's just too sweet. He's just too nice of a kid, you know. But anyways, he has to leave the store temporarily to go handle some supply orders or something like that. The teens that show up in the movie, much like a la Friday the 13th notion, they show up and you just know they're the lambs to the slaughter later in the movie. But what makes it interesting, and not that I condone it, but one of them runs over the kid with a motorcycle in a motorcycle accident, and then runs off in a drunken rage or something, and the story kind of kicks into high gear there. Ed Harley takes his passed on son's remains to local folks living back up in the hills who know about this little witch lady that lives back in the hills. And or let me back up a second. Ed Harley witnessed the Pumpkinhead monster whenever he was a kid, and he remembered it. So he went back to these people in this village, or in the little town up in the mountains, and they tell him about, he gets one of the kids there to tell him about where this witch lady lives. And he's going to go and see if he can conjure up the Pumpkinhead monster to exact revenge on these teenagers that caused the death of his child. But with every price of revenge, especially in Pumpkinhead movies, it comes at a great cost. And unbeknownst to Ed Harley, the witch lady by the name of Haggis has her own little ploy going on with him there, because he's like, it's sort of like she sets the what am I trying to say here? She does she sets the story in motion, basically. She takes the remains of his child and conjures up Pumpkinhead. He goes and digs up the remains of Pumpkinhead, brings it to her, and she brings it back to life. She rejuvenates it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But it kind of links Pumpkinhead, this version of Pumpkinhead, to the person who wants revenge, and it's like an ever running loop. It just kind of links it to the person, and every time Pumpkinhead kills somebody, Ed Harley has to endure that horror of seeing through Pumpkinhead's eyes and and feeling what he's feeling. So I don't know. Like I was saying before, the horror element's great, special effects are great in this movie, but it's just got some of the best one-liners, especially the parts with Haggis, the old witch lady, because I don't know, we used to recite her we'd call each other and prank call each other, and we'd say, "Hey, put it over there, Ed Harley, things I got to do to it," and we'd make up our own little skits and stuff about Haggis and Ed Harley. It sounds dumb and geeky, but really it was a lot of fun when I was growing up, and I don't know, just have some good memories of Pumpkinhead from that standpoint. Kind of getting back on the scene here. The DVD is a bare bones DVD. I believe it's a widescreen transfer. It's an hour and a half long, color, 1989. I don't even think it has a trailer on it, so it's very, very bare bone. I'm just glad to have it in my collection because it's one that I really like. It's not to everybody's taste. Some people think it's really hokey and it's because it's got a big monster in it and all that. But if you really stop, watch it for fun. Watch it for entertainment. I wouldn't watch it to grade the story or anything like that. It's not an Oscar-winning movie or anything. And personally, even though I love this movie so very much, I wouldn't call it a classic because it's just a very good horror movie. I'll just say it that way. So if you've never seen it, you owe it to yourself to watch Pumpkinhead, the original, with Lance Henriksen, 1989 version. There's, of course, ramblings about remaking this one now. I read on some obscure website. Hopefully this one won't come to light because they're still making sequels to this one. But I don't know, guys. If you like Pumpkinhead like I do, or if you like any of the characters and want to drop me a comment on it, please, as always, drop them below. Let me know what you guys think. If you haven't seen it, draw your own conclusions, and I'll catch you next time.